Have you ever just, stared at your morning toast and thought, what's actually in this thing? Because I'll tell you what, beyond the obvious stuff, there's this incredible hidden story of science, war, and public health baked right into every single loaf. I mean, really think about it. That sandwich you grabbed for lunch, the toast you had for breakfast, it contains these mandatory ingredients that have been kind of secretly looking out for our health for nearly 100 years now.
Right, so there's an official name for this whole process. It's called flour fortification, and it's a pretty simple idea, but a really powerful one. You just add essential vitamins and minerals back into flour to boost the nutritional quality of a food we eat all the time.
So, in the UK, the law actually says there are 5 of these micronutrients that have to be added to pretty much all wheat flour. You've got calcium, iron, thiamine, niacin, and the newest kid on the block, folic acid. The big question, though, is how on earth did these specific 5 become the standard? Well, that is exactly where our story kicks off.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with a wartime crisis and something called the national loaf. Then we'll see how that emergency fix turned into a permanent thing. We'll even get into a bit of a scientific debate about whether we still need it, and wrap things up with the brand new ingredient that's just been added.
All right, let's set the scene. We're not starting in some shiny modern lab. Nope. We're going back in time to Britain during World War II. Think scarcity, think rationing. That's where this all begins. So, here's how it all went down. It's 1941, dairy is super scarce, and the government is seriously worried about rickets. You know, that awful bone disease. Their solution? Order everyone to start adding calcium to flour. And at the exact same time, to cut down on wheat imports, they made millers produce this special, higher extraction flour, which led to the creation of the, shall we say, infamous national loaf. So you see, you had these 2 massive problems, right? And flour fortification was this just genius solution for both. Not enough milk for kids to have strong bones? No problem. We'll just put calcium in the bread. Can't get enough wheat imported because of the war? Easy. We'll make the flour we do have go further. It was honestly a brilliant piece of public health strategy for wartime. But, and this is a big but, while it was a brilliant solution on paper, it wasn't exactly a hit at the dinner table. People hated it. The national loaf was this dense, gray-looking thing, and folks found it so unappetizing that they actually nicknamed it Hitler's secret weapon. Ouch. Okay, so the war ends, things start changing. Rationing is over, and people are just desperate to get back to normal. And for a lot of folks, normal meant getting their hands on their beloved soft white bread again. Here's the catch, though. The process of making that beautiful white flour involves milling the wheat in a way that strips out the bran and the germ. And guess what's in the bran and the germ? Yep, a ton of the natural good stuff. All those key vitamins and minerals. So the government had a real dilemma on its hands. By 1953, they came up with a compromise. They put out new rules saying, okay, millers, you can make the white flour everyone wants, but you have to put back the iron, thiamine, and niacin you took out, and they decided to keep adding the wartime calcium too. And just like that, the Big Four was born, the same 4 nutrients that are in most of our bread to this day. And for decades, that was just how things were. Nobody really questioned it. But let's fast forward a bit, all the way to 2012. Our diets are totally different now, right? So the government starts asking, hey, is this policy, something we started because of a war, actually still relevant? And that one question sparked this huge conversation. You had the industry folks like the Federation of Bakers on one side, and the UK's top scientific nutrition advisors, a group called SAC, on the other. Everyone had an opinion. It all came to a head as part of this bigger government push to cut red tape. Saknin was given a really critical job: figure out what would actually happen to the country's health if we just stopped fortifying flour altogether. And what they found is pretty eye-opening. Let's take teenage girls, for example, a group that's often at risk for not getting enough nutrients. The data showed that without fortification, the percentage of them with low calcium levels would jump from 15% all the way up to 21%. And for iron, wow, the picture was even more dramatic. Get this, even with fortified flour, 44% of teenage girls weren't getting enough iron. But if you took it away, that number would shoot up to a staggering 50%. We're talking about half of all teenage girls being at risk for iron deficiency. That's a huge deal.
So, looking at all this data, Sakan came to a clear conclusion. The case for keeping mandatory calcium and iron, super strong, especially for young people. But for thiamine and niacin, not so much. Because, we get those from lots of other foods in our modern diets. So, the big four were allowed to stay, but the science basically said, look, they're not all equally important anymore. But the story doesn't end there. Let's jump to the latest chapter, because it's still evolving. A brand new nutrient has just entered the chat. This part of the story is all about folic acid. That's the man-made version of a vitamin called folate. And back in 1991, a landmark study came out that proved, without a doubt, that taking folic acid could massively reduce the risk of really serious birth defects, like spina bifida. So we've known this for decades, right? But here's the shocking part. Recent data from the UK shows that a whopping 83% of women who could have children have folate levels that are too low, lower than what's recommended to prevent these birth defects. That's not just a gap, that's a massive public health problem. So, after years and years of campaigning and recommendations, new legislation has finally happened. Starting in December 2024, adding folic acid to flour is now mandatory, and this one simple change is expected to prevent around 200 of these devastating birth defects every single year. Not to mention, it's going to save the health service a ton of money. And what this proves really is that flour fortification isn't some dusty old policy from the past. It's an active, evolving, and incredibly powerful tool that we're still using and updating with modern science to tackle today's health challenges. So next time you pick up a slice of toast, just remember the 80-year journey it's been on. It started as an emergency measure in a world war, it grew into a standard for peacetime, it got challenged by modern science, and it's still changing today to protect the most vulnerable among us. It's honestly one of the simplest yet most effective public health ideas ever. And that really leaves you with a pretty cool question to think about, doesn't it? If we can do all this with something as simple as bread, what other everyday foods out there could be hiding the potential to quietly and effectively make millions of us healthier?